gamer friends, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Josiah,
And
we are ready to roll. We're going to be talking today about games that we never get tired of.
A few weeks ago, we talked about replayability versus revisitability.
Right.
And so we thought it would be fun to kind of go through our games and see which ones we think are the most replayable games that we have.
Our number 10 most replayable game according to us, and that is Just One. It's a game that is really replayable because you can have all kinds of different groups play this game. You can have a handful of people. You can have a massive amount of people, 16 to 20 people, or however many you want.
That's what we did at Christmas, and it was a lot of fun.
And it worked great.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah, and so the experience of it is really variable and replayable.
Agreed.
And so, the creativity of people coming up with the words that you come up with in the game change the experience every single time.
Oh yeah, it can be dramatically different based on what the word is. And there's 5 options on every card. Mm-hmm. And each person, like when it's your turn to guess, you might say like number 3. And so you could literally use that same card 5 times without repeating it at all. So there's a ton of replayability in that.
The words that people write down can be really funny, or like there are times when it's like, how did you get to that?
Yes.
Or things like that. And so anyway,
or you find like, oh, we're totally on the same wavelength there.
Yeah. It's a really replayable game that we really like a lot, and it's specifically one of our party games.
Yeah, it's one of our favorite party
games that we have. Yeah. So that is our number 10 most replayable game, Just One.
Next up on our list, our number 9 is Unmatched.
Mm-hmm.
Unmatched is a game where you get to be all different types of heroes. What I think is really cool about Unmatched is it's not just like your typical heroes even.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can pick from all different kinds of characters. Some of them are like book characters, and some of them are just like, I don't know, random. Like there's Jurassic Park. Yeah. There's all kinds, and you get to play a deck that's kind of centered around that particular character, and that makes it so much fun because there's so many different ones that you can play.
Yeah, and there's a decent amount of what I would call anti-heroes as well.
Yes,
that you can play.
That's true.
Like Jekyll and Hyde.
Yes.
Like that's, no one thinks of Jekyll and Hyde as a hero alone, right? There's the two sides, right?
Yes.
And so it's really fun that they give you that kind of off-center from the normal like hero character that you play.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, because there's Alice in Wonderland, and there's like this mechanism where she's either big or like really small, and so that's kind of fun. Just different things like that they've worked into each of the different individual decks that makes it really replayable.
Yeah, and there are tons of characters for you to play.
Yes.
So you could have a different experience all the time.
And this is on like one of my most anticipated games for 2025 is the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Oh yeah.
So I'm excited to play that one.
So
I think
it's excited about that.
And also there's different villains. So like you can mix and match. They've made it where you can pull out any map, any villain, and any hero and play.
Right.
And so that's really fun.
In the boxes that we have usually have at least 2, sometimes 3 or 4 different villains.
Yeah.
That you can go against.
I will say this is specific to the cooperative version.
Yeah, that's true.
So because otherwise you're just playing against each other. So that's my number 9, Unmatched.
Our number 8 is Quest for El Dorado. This is a game where there are a bunch of different map configurations that you can have, and they give you
several,
a handful that you can use, but you could arrange the maps however you want. And so there's literally infinite amount of map configurations that you can have, and it changes the race every different map configuration.
Yeah, it does. It changes the cards you need to build your deck, and so you'll be doing that different based on the map and what it looks like. So you're like, oh, I'm going to definitely need more machetes, machetes to get through this area, that kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, it's such a fun game too. It's such a fun racing game. It's quick and easy to teach. And so you can play with lots of different people, lots of fun.
Yeah. So that is our number 8 game, Quest for El Dorado.
Our number 7 is Let's Go to Japan. Let's Go to Japan is a game that we just got introduced to last year. It was toward the beginning of last year, and we've gotten to play it quite a few times. And what I really like about it is it comes with these 2 big stacks of cards. And depending on the round, depends on which cards you're going to take. But you like take 2 cards and you draft one and you pass one to the next player. And I like that little aspect because it makes the replayability really high. Because first of all, you never know what cards you're going to get. But even if those 2 cards are in your hand, you have a choice to make of which card are you going to keep and then which one are you going to pass to your neighbor. And then you have the choice of which day of the week am I going to place this card and how do I optimize my points once we go through the entire vacation to Japan at the end of the game. And so I just feel like it gives so much replayability in all of those cards.
It does, yeah. And the stacks of cards are each like this. So there are tons and tons of cards. I don't think we've probably seen even close to have all the cards.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
And so that in and itself gives a lot of replayability. And then, like you said, the aspect of not knowing which card you're getting from the other player, and will the card that I gave away that I didn't want come back around to me?
That's true, because sometimes it does.
Yeah, and so I would agree. This game has so much replayability, and I actually have enjoyed it more every time we play it. I like it. I mean, it just keeps getting better for me.
Yeah, it's grown even more.
Yeah,
that's good. So it's a game that I feel like is easy to kind of jump into. But then there's really a ton of strategy once you start getting into it, and it's got really interesting decisions. And I love games that are easy to learn that have good decisions. Those are some of my favorite games.
Yeah, there's a surprising amount of depth in the game.
Yes, strategy. I would agree with that. So, number 7, Let's Go to Japan.
Our number 6 is Sea Salt and Paper. This is one of our favorite games that we have. Every time we play it, I have a blast playing it. It never gets old. We've played it a ton of times.
Yes.
What makes this replayable is not necessarily the cards themselves, because it's the same cards every time you play.
Right.
But it's what cards do you draw and what strategy are you going to use to win the game that time.
Right.
Because you could be getting only cards that stack up for points, like octopus or penguins or shells or things like that. You could be getting a lot of those, and that dictates how you win points that turn. Or you could be getting a lot of what I'll call action cards, where it's the sailboats or the crabs or the shark and the swimmer, things like that. And so your strategy may have to adapt to, I'm going to be just doing a lot of digging around in the discard pile or stealing cards from the other player. Or you may get 2 mermaids. And then you're like, well, I'm only going to be taking cards that have the same color.
That's really good. Yeah,
and so there's all kinds of different ways to win the game. And I mean, I, for one, have not ever gotten tired of playing this game.
No, and this game works so well on BGA as well.
Oh, yeah.
So if you've never played it, this would be a good way for you to try it out on BGA and see if you like it. I don't know. I think it's really good on BGA and in person. It's both. So.
It is a great game. Yeah. That is our number 6, Sea Salt and Paper.
Our number 5 pick is Marvel Champions. We've talked a lot about Marvel Champions in the last month or so. We absolutely love it. It's very similar to Unmatched for the reasons of its replayability.
That's true.
There is so much content. But you don't have to have it all. Right. And so I love that you can buy like one hero and you can buy a villain and you can play it.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. You can mix and match as much as you want. They have campaigns, so you can buy like little campaigns and play through those, or you can just pick one scenario and play that out. And I just really enjoy that. I also like the idea that you can be all different kinds of the Marvel heroes.
Yeah.
I mentioned it before, but I really like playing Venom, who's kind of like
anti-hero.
Yeah, he's kind of an anti-hero. I like playing him, and I like playing Spider-Man. It's really, really fun.
Yeah, I love the fact that you can have a ton of different options to play, because I love playing different heroes, and so you get a completely different experience.
Yes.
Every time you play a new hero.
Yes.
Because they're so varied in how they play the game.
Yeah, they do such a good job, I think, of like trying to create this card game based on each of those heroes' strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
I think they do a good job of that. And each deck, if you're not into constructing a deck, you can literally buy it pre-built. They're pre-built. And so you don't have to worry about that if you don't want to.
That's right.
And I really like that as well, because I'm not super great at like building out a deck. I mean, I can do it, but that's definitely not one of my strengths.
Right.
So.
It's not the reason that we bought the game enjoy the game.
Right, exactly.
We do it because, we try to maybe optimize our hero, but it's not our favorite part. Another aspect of this are the enemies.
Yes.
You can have a bunch of different types of enemies that you can play against.
And they're varying like levels.
Yeah. Of difficulty.
I really like that. So that's our number 5 Marvel champions.
Our number 4 is Too Many Bones. This is a game that we absolutely love. And the reason that we think it's really replayable is because there are tons of options for the gear locks, which are the heroes of Too Many Bones, that you can choose from. I mean, there's probably, if I had to guess, 12 to 15, something in that range. There's a bunch. Each one is unique in its experience in the game.
Yes. That's actually what I like the most about Too Many Bones, because I played several of the characters, but when I play a gear lock, trying to figure out the best strategy of building out that character, because they're getting stronger as the game goes. Maybe I didn't really optimize them very well this time that we played. So next time I'm going to do this and see if that optimizes that character a little bit better. I really like that because it makes me want to like play that character better, if that makes sense.
And which builds replayability.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so much fun. Another aspect of it are the villains. They're called tyrants, and there are I don't know, 10. I don't know. There's a
I don't know how many it comes with. I can't remember.
There are a bunch. Each tyrant has its own specific list of minions.
Yes, of little baddies that you have to fight.
Right, and there are tons of baddies.
There are.
It's hard to have the same experience twice. Even if you play the same Gearlocks and Tyrant, it's so different because the battles are shaped by the dice roll.
That's right.
And so the dice tell a story every time, and it's usually a different story.
Yeah, sometimes it's a bad story.
A lot of times it's a bad story. It's a tough game, there's no doubt.
I have heard it's easier with 4 players than with 2.
Okay.
We've only played it at 2.
Yeah.
And so that may be...
We'll have to try that.
Because it is a difficult game.
Such a good game, and it's highly, highly replayable for us. And it's our number 4, Too Many Bones.
Our number 3 game is Obsession. So Obsession has this bag that you fill all the tiles in and you kind of mix them up, and then you draw the tiles out. Those are your options for purchasing those tiles that go into your play area.
Yeah.
And then you're using your characters to, these are like events. Is that what they call them? I'm not sure exactly, but they're...
Yeah, you're hosting events.
Yeah, hosting events. Yes, and that's what the tiles are. And there's so many of them in the game. And like one game, you may be wanting to go for all the purple tiles and the green tiles, and then the next game it's like, no, we want you to go for blue and whatever. And that's how you gain reputation in the game. It's just so good. There's lots of replayability, and they come with 4 or 5 different families that you can start the game with, and they have different setup. Some of them come with a little bit more money, and some have a little bit higher reputation or whatever. That each one has a certain advantage. And so that's really fun to try and figure out which one works best for you.
That's right. Yeah. I think the base game came with 4 families, and then we bought the expansion, which gave us 2 more.
Yeah, the upstairs, downstairs.
Yeah, upstairs, downstairs expansion. So we have 6 different families to choose from. It's such a great game. Another thing that allows it to be really replayable are the cards.
Yes, because there's a ton of cards.
Yeah, because it's also a deck building game.
It is.
And so you're trying to build your deck by hosting these events and enticing people into your estate.
Yes, they need to come to your parties.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun, very thematic. We've talked about that before. And then there's different types of guests. There's like regular guests and like more prestigious guests or something like that.
And
that's
negative
really
guests.
Fun. Yeah, there's guests that are negative. They're gossips and such.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so fun.
Yes, but it changes the experience every time.
It does.
Because it's a pretty good sized deck of cards. And so, it's so replayable. I've never gotten tired of this game. I love it every time we play.
I do too.
And it's so good.
Yeah, I love it. So that is number 3, Obsession.
Our number 2 game is one that I love so much. It is Clank Catacombs.
Mm-hmm.
And this game is so replayable. There are 2 different ways, really, that make it so replayable. One is, as you go into the dungeon, there are these square tiles, and you reveal them as you get to them. So when you step off the map that you're on, the tile that you're on, you draw a new tile, you arrange it how you want, and then you move on to it. And so you don't know what's ahead of you.
Nope. There's no planning. You can't pre-plan in this game.
No planning. The tiles are shuffled, so you don't know what order they're coming out in. Right. And so it's literally different every time. And I love that aspect so much. It really immerses me into the idea of, I'm going into a dungeon and I don't know what's in the next room.
Right. Is it going to be a ghost? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. Is it a trap? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
So I love that aspect of it. It really works for my RPG brain.
Yes.
And
well, it was good because it was like the first Clank is awesome.
Yep.
And the original Clank. And they did a great job with that. But when they added Catacombs, it really changed the replayability specifically. Right. Yep. Because in the original, it's just a map that's already out. You know exactly where you need to go. And the more you play it, the more you know exactly what you need to do.
That's right.
But in Catacombs, because of that nature of revealing those tiles, you don't always know what you're going to be doing.
Right.
And so it really changes everything.
It really does. And then the other aspect is the market cards, the deck of market cards.
Oh, yeah.
That you don't know what's going to be available.
That's right.
Right. So you're building your deck with whatever comes out. And so it's different every time.
Yes.
And I just love this game. And it is one of the most replayable games I've ever played.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Such a good game.
Yeah. So that's our number 2, Clank.
Our number 1 replayable game is Ark Nova. This is one of my favorite games. It is so replayable, one, because it has, again, we've talked a lot about this, but a big giant stack of cards.
Right.
And so you never know exactly what cards are going to come out, what you're going to need to place in your zoo. You have to kind of go with whatever the cards give you.
That's right.
So sometimes you're going for reptiles and sometimes it's birds, and you don't know exactly until you start playing the game.
Yeah, don't leave out the fish and the lizards.
No, of course not. And so I said reptiles.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yes. And then there's these in-game goals as well. And so you're kind of trying to go for those, but maybe the cards don't line up, or maybe they do line up perfectly and you can start going for those in-game goals. And so that's really fun. There is the act of actually building out your map, and they have different map setups. So that also makes it more replayable because different maps give you different incentives for doing certain things.
Right.
So there's cards that come out that are in-game bonuses or in-game goals.
Yeah.
And those are shared goals for everyone. And so those can be different from game to game. And some games you might easily be able to go after those things, and some games you might not, depending on what cards come up for you.
That's right. Those are called the conservation.
Yes, the conservation cards.
Yeah.
And then you have personal goals that change every game.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another way that it has different replayability. I absolutely love it. I think that it has a ton of replayability. Yeah. I play it on BGA and it's great. And I love it even more in person.
Yeah.
So
there's even 2 different ways to win the game. You can focus on going up the appeal track, or you can focus on going up the conservation track. Usually you do both, but you can put a lot of your focus into one or the other.
That's true. You can. Yeah, it's not really necessarily 2 ways to win, but once they intersect.
Right, but
what point are they going to do that?
Right, yes. So if you want to focus more on the conservation track, it's one way to end the game faster that way, and then the appeal track is the other way. And so it's you can take either of those tracks or a combination of both. And so there are just so many variables that cause this game to be replayable that it's just unbelievably fun.
That's why Ark Nova is our #1 replayable game. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.
And tell us down below, what is your favorite replayable game? We want to hear about it.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.